I don't know where to go next. I think I just want to, and I'm sorry about this, but I have to do it. We're going to spend about 5 minutes talking about COVID and masks. Because over on Thursday, we got a directive from the CDC that says if you're in certain counties, uh, masking is highly recommended, which is interesting. I want to show you kind of what's going on. So the first thing we're going to look at is from the Arizona Department of Health Services. This is all across the state of Arizona. And if you look at this chart, you'll see that we are experiencing a third surge. And it appears that this third surge is happening because of what they're calling the Delta variant, which is a more aggressive variant of the disease. And it's showing up that more of the cases, somehow they have an ability to test these cases. And if they test and you're a Delta variant, then they assume that you got the Delta variant. And they're doing the statistical stuff on that. Now, the interesting thing is that was cases. How do hospitalizations look? Well, hospitalizations across the state of Arizona, if you look, are going up a little bit. They're not, looks like it could potentially be leveling off, but we don't know because, it always looks like that. The data lags about a week to 10 days. So this is either a leveling off or it's just part of the surge. And then one last one that we'll look at is deaths. Now, the interesting thing about deaths is it lags by a week to 10 days also because, as you see, there's no deaths at all. So it's not showing up in deaths yet. Now, part of that may be that, hasn't started to show up yet. And part of it may be that we've just learned how to treat this a whole lot better. So that when that came out, the CDC guidelines on Thursday, which I take the CDC very seriously, I wanted to investigate kind of what's going on. And so we're just going to spend a little bit, and I'm sorry about this, but we have to do it. We're going to spend a little bit talking about what I know. And so what I know is that the CDC is recommending masking in substantial transmission areas. This is 50 to 99 new cases per 100,000 people. Entire Pima County is 55 cases per 100,000 people. So basically, we in Pima County meet the threshold. But as you know, Vail and in the far east side of Pima County and some of the other rural areas of Pima County experience COVID at a much reduced rate than the county as a whole. And the guideline isn't actually by county. The guideline is actually if your immediate area is 55 cases per 100,000, or 50 or more of 100,000, then you should consider masking. And so I did a quick back of the napkin sketch, and Vail is not at this threshold yet. All of Pima County is, but Vail isn't. And I find that interesting that they did it by county because most of the places in the United States have very, very, very small counties. But here in Arizona and the Southwest, we have very, very, very large counties. So it may not make sense to look at a county-wide. We might have to look more granular to figure out what's going on. And so I am doing that. So that's basically what came out. Now, what else do I know? Well, I also know that this old COVID, the original COVID, the R0, the transmissibility rate is 2.5. The new Delta variant is 3.5 to 4, so it's much more transmissible. But I also know that less than 1% of the hospitalizations from vaccinated, less than 1% of the people who are hospitalized are from vaccinated people. 99% are unvaccinated. So in other words, if you have been vaccinated, the chances of you being in the hospital and or succumbing to COVID is extremely rare. It's like 0.0008 or something. I mean, it's just a very, very small amount. All the vast majority of people that are getting sick and dying in hospitalization are people who have not had COVID yet. They haven't had COVID and they haven't been vaccinated. Because apparently if you've had COVID, you're also highly protected. Arizona governor has not mandated masks, and he does not appear that any other organization in our immediate area requiring masks. So I went into Safeway over the weekend. Safeway is not requiring masks. I talked to Del Lago. They're looking at potentially having people wear a mask and then sit down, and then they can eat their food without a mask. But it does not appear, as I've kind of lived and worked, even Walmart in Tucson, which is requiring masking for all employees, they are not requiring masks. So it doesn't appear that anybody else is requiring masks, even though the CDC is recommending masks for Pima County. So I found that interesting too. So we are going to remain mask optional, which is what we've been. We'll continue to review the CDC, federal government, state government, Pima County, and local conditions. And if you are unvaccinated, you have a higher probability to get the Delta strain than the original strain. So you should understand that even if everybody masked, I would still be highly cautious going out if you're unvaccinated. Now, the interesting thing is I've come across a number of people who have shared with me that they're not going to get vaccinated. And I just find that so fascinating because, COVID, while there could be mild symptoms of COVID that you might lose your smell for a week or two, but there's other people that die from it. So I find that fascinating as just a statistician. As you know, my master's degree was in the industrial engineering portion of Arizona State. So it's got a lot of statistics and that sort of thing. So I want to just spend a little bit of time, only 3 minutes on this. If you live in the United States, your potential of dying by drowning is 1 in 1,000 in any given year. Your potential of dying from air and space travel is 1 in 7,000. Road fatality is 1 in 8,000. Electrocution is 1 in 10,000. Lightning is 1 in 100,000. A flood is 1 in 200,000, and fireworks, believe it or not, is 1 in 400,000. So that's kind of your potential. And the reason why I bring that up is it looks like people don't stop driving because they think they're going to die, and they're okay with about 1 in 8,000. People don't stop flying. Air and space travel 1 in 7,000. So it seems like 1 in 7, 1 in 8, 1 in 10,000. About that level, people are willing to live with that risk. Drowning, 1 in 1,000. There are some people that actually won't get pools because they're afraid that their kids might drown because it is mostly a kid thing, an infant and child thing. Once your infant and child's older, then they might, get a pool or consider it. So it seems like people start to change their behavior, at around 1 in 1,000. That's kind of a limit where people start to notice. And people also rationally understand this, right? Because we observe the world around us and we see the behaviors that cause people to die or cause people to get sick. And if we see a lot of those in the people that we live with, then we start to change our behavior because of that. We instinctively know when we should modify our behavior or take cautions and things like that. We just instinctively know that. And so it seems like somewhere 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000, in that range, when it starts to get in that range, we start to consider our behavior changes. Well, the reason why I bring this up, and this all gets to this chart that I'm going to show you, is that this kind of explains why some people are not getting vaccinated. I'm going to show you a chart. And what this chart is, I put this chart together by going into two sources. One was population by age in the United States, and the other is deaths by COVID so far from the beginning of the pandemic. And then deaths by flu from the beginning of the pandemic. And as you can see, if you are 0 to 4, you have a 1 in 475,000 chance of succumbing to COVID, basically. And I will tell you, that's almost like almost no chance whatsoever. And as you can see, flu is 1 in 292. So there's some infants, you're more likely to die of the flu than you are of COVID if you're under 4. 5 to 14, 1 in 350 chance to die of COVID, 1 in 520. So it's still very, 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 very rare. And you can just see the numbers on the list, the number of flu deaths and number of COVID deaths. If your age is 15 to 24, your chances of dying from COVID are 1 in 38,000. Now, the interesting thing is that's about 4 times as much as being in a traffic accident. If you're 25 to 34, it's 1 in 9,000, which is just about the same probability as being in a traffic accident. So if you are under 34 years old, I think you instinctively know, just based upon everything you've seen and all your friends and all that, you know that there are acceptable odds of dying of COVID. And so you're really questioning whether or not you should get the shot, because your chances of dying from COVID are about the same as, as dying in a traffic accident. And that's kind of a risk that we all take. And why wouldn't you take the shot? Well, I think for some people who are very young, they think that the shot was rolled out rather quickly, and perhaps, not everything is known about the long-term side effects from the shot. And so you'd rather take your chances either getting COVID and surviving. Maybe you look and realize that, you're a very healthy person, and most of the people who die from COVID are, have comorbidities. So you're going to take but let's just continue looking on the chart, because it really gets interesting. If you're 45 to 54, it's 1 in 1,000, about the same as drowning. If you're my age group, 55 to 64, it's 1 in 400. And if you're 65 to 74, it's 1 in 150. So these are actually statistically 1 in 400 and 1 in 150 are actually pretty. I wouldn't want those odds, which is why when the shot became available, I immediately tried to get the shot as soon as possible, because it was. I realized I just instinctively that there are people my age that were in the hospital or whatever. You hear about it, and 1 in 400 is a rather it's not a higher rate, but it's a substantial rate. So my advice to you would be, if you know anybody in the 55 to 64 or 65 to 74, well, even 45 to 54. Well, and let's just finish the chart. Obviously, if you're 85 and older, you have a 1 in 24 chance of dying from COVID. So absolutely, anybody, nursing home, 85 and older, you should absolutely get the shot. If you can't get the shot, I'm so sorry. But if you absolutely can get the shot, you should do that. Now, on the bottom of the chart, they tracked people who got the shot and followed them afterwards to see if any of them died. And 6,207 people have died so far after getting the shot. This does not mean that they died from COVID or the shot or anything. It just means that they died. So that itself is just 1 in 60,000 deaths. So the odds of you dying of anything after you get the shot are 1 in 60,000, which is basically about the same odds of dying in the United States anyway. So it does not appear. They have found 3 people that got a blood clotting issue because of a particular thing that they had in their body. And now they know how to solve the blood clotting issue. So if you get in the hospital and you get the shot and you get blood clot issue, they know exactly how to solve it. So at least for the known things about the vaccines, they know that you probably won't die from it, and if you do get a complication, they kind of know how to treat it. They don't know the long-term effects 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, obviously, but because we just won't know that till 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. But they do know from the things that have happened so far that your risk of COVID is dramatically higher than people who become vaccinated. As I see this, I think most people should get vaccinated. If you're over the age of 15, absolutely get vaccinated. 0 to 14, I understand why you might not potentially want to get vaccinated. Now the problem is this Delta variant is coming through, and they're going to try to squash the Delta variant by forcing people to get vaccinated. And I say good luck with that. You're going to have to put some pretty impressive. Some of the people I've talked to, you're going to have to put some really impressive weight behind that. Now, if it were me, I would do just the opposite. I think what I would do is just open everything up and say, fine, if you're not going to get vaccinated, then take your shot. We're going to spend the next month making sure that everybody who's unvaccinated gets exposed to COVID so that we can get through this variant, because we have to get through this variant. We don't want it to morph into something that's worse. And so that's kind of what I would do. I know it's cold and heartless and cruel, and no politician's ever going to do that. But that's kind of I might consider that. I don't know. The locking down the world and trying to force some of the people that I've talked to, trying to force them to get a vaccine. You're almost going to have to, put them in an institution, lock them down, give them the vaccine. I mean, that's about all you're going to be able to do. Oh my goodness, this is we have gone way longer. I am so sorry. Yeah. That was, I thought 5 minutes and ended up being 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Anyway, I guess maybe we could just then spend the rest of the time talking about yeah. Maybe I won't do a podcast for today. I'll just leave it as a masking. Let me just finish off the masking thing. So if it's really as virulent as it is, masking may or may not work. I don't know. But but masking is one of those things that the community, like all of Pima County, would have to, the Board of Supervisors of Pima County would have to enforce a masking mandate. Because for masking to work, everybody has to mask. You can't just do it willy-nilly. And there has to be a government order in Pima County that overrides the state order that says everybody has to be masked, because we're now in this, our high transmissibility, greater than 50 per 100,000 cases, that we're going to force masking for a while. I don't think the Board of Supervisors is going to do that. And I don't think that unless we all mask, I don't think that we can protect ourselves. There's just too many opportunities in the circles that we all live in that we're going to get exposed to it. So my recommendation to you, well, first of all, I don't think the masking is going to happen countywide. So my recommendation to you is, if you are unable to get vaccinated, which is some people, or you're not willing to get vaccinated, and you are older, like say 55 and older, be very, very cautious out there, because there is this strain that's going around that will potentially, like my age group, 1 in 400 people will get this, they potentially get this strain. Just ride out this wave as much as you can. I think this is the third wave, or maybe it's the fourth wave. I don't know. I think it's the third wave. Just be very, very careful over the next 2 weeks is all I can say. If you don't want to get vaccinated, just be very careful over the next 2 weeks. Wash your hands, kind of avoid large crowds, just kind of be that way. As far as Christ Within Veil, if you are a member of Christ Within Veil, or you worship with us, we will not be masking. At least we didn't last week, and I have no idea about this coming week. We'll see. So if we're not masking, you just might want to sit in the back, or sit around people that and not touch. Just for the next 2 weeks. That's all I'm asking. And then after that, I think we'll be through this this wave, or at least understand kind of where this wave is headed. It looks like each wave lasts about June 15th to August, June, July, August. So that lasts about 8 weeks, each wave. The second wave happened, December. Yeah, each wave lasts about 2 months. So maybe it's not 2 weeks, maybe it's 2 months. I don't know. But just be very, very cautious, because I don't want anybody more to, there should be nobody more that dies of COVID. I mean, the vaccine is available to everybody. In the United States, nobody else should die of COVID ever again. I mean, it's just the way it is. But people have freedom, and they should have the freedom to choose to risk, their lives with this disease. So it's a tough time. We should continue to pray for, the people, governors, CDC, presidents, staff, and all that sort of thing, that they understand the pulse of the people that that live in their communities and live in their countries, and really try to do and make the best medical decision, make the best decision for the people in the community, and not necessarily the best political decisions. Because I look across the world and I see just all kind of crazy going on. So, we should pray for our nation. So I think what I'm going to do, man, this went longer than I thought. I am so sorry. But maybe that's good. Maybe you could send this to somebody that that you know needs to hear it. I don't know. But we're going to just go ahead and close in prayer and pray for our country, pray for our community, and then we'll get together tomorrow. All right. So, gracious God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the beautiful weather that we've been having. Lord, protect all of us from this disease. Protect those who need protection, and help people who are making decisions make good decisions. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So what I think I'll do is I just won't have a podcast. I won't have because I cut out pieces of it and I make it available as a podcast. So we won't have a podcast yet. This will be just like an inserted day. Maybe that's what that'll be. So we will get together tomorrow. I'm not going to talk about COVID. We will get into episode 46, I believe it is. We're going to talk about some of these weird laws that come out of Exodus 21 that are kind of make your eyebrows go up and down. All right, so that's kind of where we are. And again, I'm sorry I didn't expect it would go this long, but I pray that you have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.